FNAF movie is finally out after years and years of waiting. But before I get into anything, I would just like to first say, please support this movie if at all possible. Please do not pirate this movie. Any sort of financial support is greatly appreciated. Please, we need to make this movie a huge success. It needs to be number one. We need to show Blumhouse, we need to show Universal, we need to show Scott that we are hyped and excited for FNAF movies. We want more. But with that out of the way, let's get right into it. So we're going to start off with all the good stuff, but it might have to get cut short just a little bit. I won't get my full thoughts out. It has to deal with a lot of the spoilers, and the spoilers are very important for some of these, so I'm going to keep those to the end of the review. Now then, I have to say, right as I was in the theater, the opening, I wanted to cheer in my seat. The opening was absolutely wonderful. I can't exactly remember the song. It must have been an original, but oh, it sounded so wonderful. It was nice and retro. It was great. It was so good, and the opening was all 8-bit, like the death minigames from FNAF 2. Wonderful. Now next is a big one. The animatronics were so good. The animatronics were completely practical, and only some of it was CGI. I saw a little bit of CGI, it was kind of noticeable, but regardless, the movement, the facial expressions, all of it, perfect. So good. Oh my god. And the fact that they're now on display in Universal, wonderful. Universal, please give us more. Now another one of the goods, the tie-ins from the game. There was a lot of references that I was able to spot. Non-spoiler right here, but Balloon Boy was in the film. He was a little figure. He didn't actually do anything. He just popped up every now and again, and it was pretty funny. Little bit of we could see some side characters. I think I saw an empty suit in the background in one of the scenes. It might have been Shadow Freddy, but there was no head to go along with it. So I'm gonna wait till confirming that Shadow Freddy's in the movie. Now then, the introduction to the animatronics I think was absolutely stellar. Just straight up seeing a lot of the movement when the animatronics are on stage. It looks so good, and I don't think I'll ever forget Foxy popping out of the curtains, which you actually can see from the trailers. It looks really awesome. Now then, on to what just about everyone was worried about, the ratings. The rating for the movie is in fact PG-13, if you didn't know that already. A lot of us were hoping that it was going to be R-rated, but Blumhouse pulled through for us, not getting the PG-13, so that means that a lot more people are going to be watching it now than if we had the R. But also, a lot of the gorehounds out there who want to see more serious and grounded drama and action, more violent action possibly, we actually get that. You can see in the trailer, the cupcake going rabid on that dude's face. It shows the aftermath of a lot of the characters who actually die in the movie, and it's wonderful. Not to say that mutilated corpses are great to see, but for what they show, I'm actually kind of surprised that this is still considered a PG-13 movie. It's not a ton of blood and guts everywhere, but they managed to keep it gross, and oh wow, that was a quick cutaway, but that still did not look very good, you know? Okay, so on to bringing the games to life. I think the movie actually did a really good job of this. I liked seeing the classic FNAF 1 office. I don't remember seeing the two doors on the left and right. I was kind of disappointed for that, but the fan was there, the monitors were there, the stage, Foxy's Cove, Pirate Cove, sorry. Now then, the atmosphere was honestly astonishing. The kid laughs were great, because yeah, the ghost spirit kid laughs happened. We got a tiny bit of a jump scare, like your classic FNAF 1 jump scare, just a little bit of it. It was cool. I liked a lot of the sound effects. It really brought it to life. And especially just the visuals with how run down the place looked. Oh, so good. When you see the stained glass windows on the chairs and tables, it's so wonderful. Especially the old lighting, the very colorful disco ball in the party room. Absolutely astonishing. Now, for the plot, I really enjoyed how they made it feel like it was very urgent, and I love that. I don't want it to be super silly and overdone, right? It's nice to have a little bit of that, which they did. I think they went a little bit overboard for that, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, when something got going, it kept going. It didn't cut back for a silly little comic relief. No. It kept going until it was over. And I like that. Now then, speaking about these tense situations makes me think of the absolutely killer acting performance from the main villain, which I will not name until the spoiler section, of course. And just the acting overall. But, yeah, that's all I'll say for now. We'll get back to that in a bit. Now then, the mask used to kill the guard. I thought that was a very interesting twist on the whole shoving you in a Freddy suit because they think you're a naked endo or what have you. I thought it was really cool. Now then, there are multiple villains, or at least antagonizing characters in the movie, and one of the more side plot antagonists, I thought it was pretty good. Maybe the villain was a bit too much 2D with how they felt and with their goals. It was a bit lackluster in that, but it's fine. It was obviously just a set piece so that they could move along the plot, you know. It's fine. It's fine. It was great. I liked the characters tied to it and the wonderful scene that ended their little plot. We actually did get quite a lot of shots of just the animatronics moving and doing their thing. They were like falling over, being silly. It was nice. It was very, very cool to see. And I love the facial expressions that the puppeteers were able to make with them. Yeah, they were pretty quirky. And on to the last one for now. The It's Me, and just Golden Freddy in general. I thought It's Me was really well done. It wasn't super overblown. It was just a quick, like, 3 seconds. It's me. It was flashing somewhere when everything was going crazy, and it was gone. Alright, and it was gone. No more than a nice little, tie-in from the game, you know? Because you can't have Five Nights at Freddy's without 1, the animatronics, 2, I'm actually not going to say that until spoilers. Anyway, let's just move on to, the more lacking parts of the film. Unfortunately, yes, there are some things I did not like about the film. It's not a perfect film, obviously, right? I thought it was really good, though. I'll tell you my overall score later, but let's get to the misses that this film had. So, the time passage is actually a little bit of a major issue that I couldn't really ignore while watching it. I'm not going to be talking about it right now because I have a whole pacing section that I'm saving for later with the spoilers. So we'll get to that later. So this next one is actually more catered towards non-Fnaf fans. I did have to consider what they would be feeling and thinking about, right? Especially when considering the story. Because that, as we all know, if you were keeping up with the movie, as it was in development hell, Scott was having a real hard time trying to think up a good script and a good studio to give it to that would not only get all the old fans, especially the old fans, excited to be watching the film and excited to be watching the story unfold in front of them, but almost more importantly, the non-Fnaf fans that haven't seen anything about FNAF until this movie. And I actually took someone with me that was a non-FNAF fan, who knew nothing of FNAF, and they had quite a few questions when the movie was over, but using only movie logic and explanations, I was able to get them to a bit of a consensus that the story wasn't bad, right? I just had to, like, retell them some of the things that happened in the movie and motivations for some of the characters, like why the villain was killing. They were wondering for some reason what like made them snap, and I was like, I don't know, man. I guess it's kind of explained in the games, but some people are just bad people. And then they wanted to know a few other things, like actually I can't really get into that. Spoilers. Sorry. Let's move on. I will say this now. The worst part of this movie is the lack of the main villain's screen time. The main villain in this movie was robbed. They were robbed. Alright? They killed it in every second they were on screen. But they didn't have a lot of screen time. And that really bummed me. It wasn't enough to make me go, oh, bad movie, but it was pretty sad. Ugh. Please FNAF 2, please FNAF 2. Now then, speaking about the villains again, the 2D villain is kind of just a set piece to keep things moving, as I like to call them a fire starter. They're just there to cause stuff to happen, and then they're dealt with, or they leave. Oh, I guess you could go with the Steven Universe route too. I forgot that's also the sacred third option of, yeah, the neo-Nazi is suddenly good now because Takano Jutsu. I'm not gonna get into that drama, but let's move on. If you watch the trailers, you'll know that Torador March is in the song. It blares super loud on the speakers, and it causes Mike to writhe in pain. He's like, it's so loud, my poor ears. I was really disappointed to find out that that song is actually nowhere in the movie, or at least not that I could find. And speaking of more original sounds, the classic jump scare noise. You can only ever hear it once. Now that I've rewatched it, I'm fairly certain it is only in the movie once. Regardless, let's move on. We're gonna be getting into the plot, the characters, everything, alright? So if you don't want to know about it, you're gonna want to click off this video. So, back to the good again. We'll just quickly go through this. The animatronics, really great. There's only one real spoiler that I can actually think of at the moment. It's Springtrap. Springtrap looks so good. I just, once again, wish I could see more. We saw a great show of its movement and just how good it looks. I wish we had more of that. I wish it wasn't gone so quickly. The acting from the kids. Oh, this one was so great. The ghost kids, I think, did a really good job with the little bit of time they had on screen. Yes, they do actually talk. One or two of them do, at least. I really liked the Freddy scene where the little kid leads one of the break-in dudes to the back rooms, and that's where the hand popping out of Freddy scene comes out. Pretty epic. That was also one of my favorite kills. There was a little puppet, a spring-lock suit, that actually looked a little bit like Baby. It looked like some sort of clown, maybe not that close to Baby, but it has an exposed rib cage, and it was spring-locked. It was our first introduction for the movie, and it was really cool, but I'm still thinking about it. Now the gore. There is a scene where the hand comes out of Freddy's mouth. The hand actually grabs the girl, the ghost kid grabs the girl, and I guess, like, the ghost kids have physical effects on the world. And so the ghost hand basically, like, pulls her up in goofy off fashion, and Freddy straight up bites her in half. It is the coolest kill in the movie, and you see her half of her corpse drop down, and later in the movie you see the other half sticking out of a suit, right? You see her head. It's so cool. It's so awesome. My favorite kill of the movie. You see the mauled face of the kid who gets bit by the cupcake, and overall it's just really great. I'm surprised they got away with that, but I'm glad they did. Now then, the atmosphere, it was really good, but one little gripe, even though this is the good section, I wish the whole humming Springtrap thing, I wish they did more with that, you know? It was in the trailers, it was great to hear in the trailers, but I don't remember hearing, like, any of it during the actual Springtrap section, which is very disappointing, but still, atmosphere, very good. Now, the acting from the main villain, which is Springtrap William Afton. That is indeed Matthew Lillard. He is Shaggy in the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. He's also a very good actor, and he shows his acting chops, dude. Oh my god, he's so good. When talking to Vanessa, who is actually his daughter, which is revealed, which is very weird for the lore, but we'll get to that. It's strange, but yeah, it is a thing that happens. When he's like berating her for trying to protect Mike and Abby, he goes apeshit, dude. It's so good. It is so good. I absolutely love it when he's doing the interview with Mike as well. He shows a lot of mystique when reading out the Schmidt name, because he knows about the whole taking Mike's brother, and he really like wanted to have the symmetry, in his own words, of killing both brothers and then even the sister, Abby. And he says that, and it's really cool. Love that, especially when he gets in the suit, even though it's not very long. The voice modulator is actually not bad sounding. He doesn't say a lot. He doesn't say like any cringe lines while in the suit. That takes you out of it. So good. Now then, the 2D villain, she is actually the aunt of Abby and Mike, and she wants to take custody of Abby. So that's the little side plot that happens. And she's playing dirty, right? She has a lawyer, and she has one babysitter for Abby when Mike is doing his job, trying to get dirt on Mike. And that's actually why that character was even introduced. I think her name was Max. She's the one who gets bit in half. But the clear best part of that whole charade is the lawyer of Miss Amber Turd. There's this dude, and his name is like Doug or something. I don't know. But he's so funny to watch. He constantly has this Mitch McConnell looking face on him, and he's always just stunned at the things he's hearing and things he has to deal with. Because while they're like plotting to get dirt on Mike to get the custody of Abby, they start saying that they might want to kill him, and he straight up just stands up and he's like, "Oh, I think I just remembered. I shouldn't be." It's so funny. It's so funny how well acted his role is. I love him. Now, unfortunately, that is the last of the goods. Let's quickly get back to the not so great. Okay, so the only one that stands out to me on this list is really the 2D villain, the aunt. The way she gets dealt with is actually kind of crazy. So when Mike gets captured by the animatronics and is put in that Freddy head kill device, whatever you want to call it, that was in the trailers, Abby is currently in Mike's house with the aunt, because Mike was trying to give the aunt Abby because of the fact that he didn't want Abby near the animatronics, and this was really the only way he saw how he could do that. So he was trying to give her custody, and she locked herself in her room. So Golden Freddy actually shows up to their house and kills the aunt. And it's so quick. It just happens, They mention it. Oh, she's asleep. Don't worry about that, Abby. I didn't do anything. She's asleep. And they leave. And then Corey Kenshin shows up. And haha, funny cameo. Not great. Not a fan of that one. The cameo was pretty silly, but once again, not great. Absolute worst part of the film is coming up right here. There is a scene where they are talking to a therapist about Abby because she's drawing a lot of pictures. They think she might be mentally ill of some sort. And the therapist is like, oh no, children draw all these pictures all the time. This is how they communicate. She said something so stupid. Pictures are how children communicate. It's the world they make up. This is what they believe. And this speech was used to kill Afton because Afton was controlling the animatronics or whatever to do his bidding by having a drawn image by the children of them holding Spring Bonnie's hands and just being friends and stuff, all ooey gooey stuff. And Abby rips this picture down, puts her own up of Spring Bonnie killing them to show what really happened to the 5 children during the missing children's incident, because apparently they didn't remember. And via that picture, they realized they were killed by Afton, and that's how they defeat Afton in the movie. Which is really stupid. You know, that was the worst part. Any non-FNAF fan or FNAF fan can agree on that one. I guarantee it. That's ridiculous. So the whole dreams thing was also a little bit of that. I'm like, why does that make sense? For some reason, in the dreams, they had real effects. So either that means that, as I said, the dreams, what happened in there, had real effects in real life, or the animatronics, despite the fact that Mike was sleeping to have to communicate with them, the animatronics could just communicate with Mike while he's dreaming and be able to still freely roam in the real world, which is weird. And it's strange that they don't kill him while that happens and rather capture him and put him in the chair so that he can escape. And that's strange, you know. Not a fan of that. I didn't like the fort building scene, which is the animatronics when they got all quirky and were befriending Abby. That was a nice scene to show that Abby was indeed friends with them. And it led to the spring lock scene where Vanessa told Mike about the spring locks and such. But like it didn't fit thematically in the film kind of at all. It was a real curveball. Another one, this isn't the biggest gripe, but the whole horror trope where the doors have a mind of their own and they just open and close randomly. They have a lot of that in this movie. And last one, dead aunt left on the floor. I mentioned that briefly when I was talking about the 2D villain. Her corpse is left on the floor in Mike's house, and it is never addressed. They get out of the pizza place, and nobody talks about it. There's never a scene that shows any repercussions or even investigation of this dead woman that was just found in Mike's house. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. It didn't show any scenes after she was killed that involved any sort of like cleanup or anything. There was none of that. No, not a thing. So it's kind of infuriating to think about when you're watching this ending play out. You're like, okay, but like, why is Mike not in jail? There was a corpse in his house. Does he think he's just gonna bury it and get away with it? Despite the fact that this woman was in contact with the lawyer almost constantly. Regardless, I'll suspend my disbelief if it means we get a good second movie. Let's move on to the pacing. So if you were listening closely and tried to understand how this film went, you might think that we were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth from Mike's house to pizzeria. And you would be right. Unfortunately, it does just zip back and forth from Mike being in the restaurant and being in the pizzeria. The film opens with Mike being a security guard at a mall, and that's where we get the scene where he beats up the dude in the fountain. He thinks a kid's being kidnapped. He chases the guard down. He beats up the guard. He gets fired from the job. He meets William Afton. William Afton gives him the night guard job after realizing he's a Schmidt. And then 20 minutes in, we're in the location. Mike falls asleep. He is in that location for like 5 minutes and then done. We're back at Mike's home. The nights go by very, very quickly, but I am glad it's not like just one long night like in Security Breach. I will say, because of this fast pace, it goes fast enough that you won't forget about characters like Vanessa or the aunt. I still can't remember her name. But yeah, Mike getting absolutely like ravaged when he's dreaming, facing the animatronics. He's getting like jumped by these ghost kids, which is having an effect in real life. He's getting all these lacerations, and then it just cuts to immediate dead aunt, and then they go in Corey's car, and then it cuts back to Mike, and then he escapes the thing, and then he runs out of the pizza place, and then a second later he bangs on the door, and cut to Vanessa's place, and he's all patched up. And we're back to the pizzeria. And Springtrap's here. And end of the movie. It goes way too fast. Springtrap, once again, he needs to be more in the film. I loved Springtrap. Please just give me more, alright? Speaking of villains getting dealt with too fast, the whole group that came in to mess up the pizzeria, which was actually to get Mike fired so that the court, if the aunt chose to sue, Mike would give the custody over to Abby. That's the reason Mike got the job. And they were trying to leave him jobless so that it would go smoother, you know. The whole them getting murdered scene, that was cut a bit too short. It was very funny. I liked it. Which, is a good thing, but yeah, I just think it wasn't long enough. Unfortunate. Now let's get to the horror. That was a good fast section, but let's get to the horror elements. Now some of the things that happened in this movie were actually pretty tense. I loved some of the blink and you miss it things. One of them was really hard to catch, and I think it was like the third one that happens. The first one's like Foxy's shadow. There's just a lot of cool silhouette images. I loved those ones. Suspense of like Foxy looking for Abby, that one was really nice. But one of my favorites is Chica sneaking behind the fan in the background when the dude is about to get mauled by the cupcake. It is easy as hell to miss. But I caught it that first time and I was so glad. I was so happy. It was awesome. I loved it. Now, we all know that not a lot of people like CGI. And unfortunately, there is a little bit of CGI. I noticed that the cupcake, when it jumps at the dude to maul him, the cupcake is definitely CGI. It looked way too fake to be, like, actually them just flinging the cupcake at him. Or at the camera, I mean. It was pretty silly. But it didn't take me out of the film. Once again, it was like a quarter of a second. It's fine. The gore, ooh, that really put me in the film. That was good. That was awesome. I loved it. The deaths, it was real impactful. It was great. It was so amazing to just see people freaking die, man. People that were not good, they die. It was great. I loved it. Spring locks, those were... It obviously didn't meet the impossibly large task of fulfilling whatever my brain was thinking up when I thought of spring locks. They were cool, and we had some nice shots of them digging into flesh, but they didn't look all that impressive, in my opinion, which is a monstrous task, because we all thought spring locks were going to be some crazy looking thing. And, yeah, unfortunately it doesn't meet the unreal expectations of me. But it was cool. It was there. It was nice to have. Now then, the biggest controversy of all horror ever. the red eyes. Everyone thought Freddy was getting crunk with the boys, getting faded. I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think the scene where Foxy has red eyes and is exiting Pirate Cove is brilliantly done. Y'all need to just chill, alright? It's fine. It doesn't matter that much. Just please calm down, guys. We got a FNAF movie. You should just be glad that we have it, alright? Let's move on to the lore. I'm not gonna be talking a whole lot about this because I'm not experienced in the lore as much as I would like to be for this this section, but I did get a lot of the secrets that were there, well, that I could find. There, so the Vanessa is Afton's daughter. That was a big one. That was huge. It really makes me think what time this takes place. It was hard to tell because they referred to the 80s as if it was like back in time quite a bit. So I thought it was like maybe the 90s, maybe even the 2000s, early 2000s. I couldn't quite get a concrete time frame because they had like old CRT TVs, they had cassettes, they had these old looking cars, they had these like old-ish looking cars that were just like kind of messed up. The whole Vanessa being here, the whole Afton looking old. I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, but Vanessa being Afton's daughter, that set off a lot of red flags in my mind because of the fact that I played Security Breach a lot. I've heard a lot of Help Wanted. I played that game a little bit too. I like Help Wanted. Maybe not the story for Help Wanted, the whole glitch trap possessing Vanessa. I don't know if she's just posing as Afton's daughter, like she was posing as someone else in the tapes in Security Breach. It's a whole lot to consider. I couldn't pinpoint a whole lot. But speaking of Afton, he quote-unquote survives in those spring locks. The last shot we see of him, he is doing the classic FNAF 3 twitching in a pool of his own blood that we unfortunately don't see. I would have liked to see a blood-soaked springlock suit that he is wearing, but no, the best we get is a shot of his ribs being punctured by the springlocks. And he's doing the whole I will survive thing, where I think he's just gonna keep in the back rooms shivering until he eventually is able to get out, but obviously he's not alive. He died then and there, but refused to leave his spirit refused to leave his body, right? I think that's what's gonna happen in the next movie. That'd be cool. Golden Freddy shows a clear resentment to him in that scene, which I found really important because we all know Golden Freddy and whatever spirit it may be in there. With UCN and putting Afton in eternal torment that isn't like hell, but is like his own hell, you know? That was really cool to see. The Golden Freddy closing the door on him, sealing him in there. That was awesome. But I think this one's the most important because this is like kind of unique to the movie. The whole kidnapped kid, I forgot his name. It started with a Q or something, I don't know. Oh, sorry, a G. It was Garrett. I think that... No, not I think. I know. So, the FNAF 2 death minigames that spelt out stuff like help me, help him, save them, and then with the you can't at the end. It did that voice, but it spelt out come find me. And I think that's in reference to Garrett. I think there has to be something to do with Garrett that is left to be explored in probably the next movie, right? I'm hoping it's not like the books where it's gonna be the whole I didn't take him as a child, I took you, Mike, it was you that I took, you're a robot, Mike. That would be very unfortunate because we have learned that Ruin is kind of following the second book and I believe, oh, I forgot. Yeah, there was hints to a circus for Help Wanted 2, so everyone's thinking it's going to follow a little bit of the third book, anyone who's read the books at least. I personally have read that original trilogy, so I wouldn't be surprised. But unfortunately, it doesn't give us enough information, at least based on what I have seen. So, with that being said, that is actually all I have for today. This movie is insane. Please, if you can, once again, please support this movie. This video did take a lot of effort from me. I personally think this movie earns a solid 9 out of 10. There are some things that could improve on, but for our first outing, this is spectacular. 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, suck my dick. Get out of here, dude. Wonderful movie. Go watch it. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and that's about it from me. Have a day.